back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Red and White Chalk Podcast with me, Cormac, and my good friend and co-host, Taylor.
Hola, Cormac.
How are we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's another huge week for the football, isn't it? It's another.
Well, I say that every week.
Yeah, it
is.
The football never ends, and here's another good week of it. And I, for one, am extremely excited for 3 straight days of just footballing fixtures, which gets everybody very excited. I can't wait to sit down and speak about them.
Some tasty European games coming up. But before we get excited, I think first it's important we address Liverpool are officially Premier League champions. I mean, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? It's been a long time coming.
We probably could have said this in January.
Yeah.
It's happened. Well done to them. It was always going to happen. The thing that actually probably impresses me the most is the fact, obviously, Arne Slot's come in first season and has won the Premier League.
Yeah.
Off the back of also not spending any money last summer in his first season.
Super
Obviously, bringing in Chiesa for 15 mil or whatever the fee was, but
15 mil.
You know, not bringing in any of the players which he probably would have wanted to. Obviously, they tried to get Zubimendi and that didn't get over the line.
Yep.
So to do that with the squad, which is not his at all, and the whole thing about how managers need their own players, we saw it with Ten Hag. He spent 600 million in his time, and
how did that go?
Fantastically, better than it's going now. So he's done it with none of his players. He's made the squad his team, and he's obviously very lucky that he's got 3-4 world-class players sprinkled in that team with the experience and guys who get the job done, and just it mixed that with a year where Manchester City have been incredibly off it. Arsenal haven't been as consistent in the league, and that's led to a Liverpool title. So
don't take anything away from Liverpool. Obviously, Man City haven't been as good. Yeah, but you can. But they just have been the best team in the league, pretty comfortably.
Well, it seems like everyone between 2nd and 10th were just beating each other. Whereas Liverpool, I think they've lost to Forest and
Arsenal. I think we beat them once
in the league.
I think so.
What is it?
One was it a draw? It might be a draw.
No, I think it was a draw because I think they've lost to 2 random teams like Forest and Fulham or something like that.
They did lose to Fulham, didn't they?
But other than that, they have beat everyone else or they've beaten or drawn against everyone else they needed to. So
yeah, well,
that's how you win a league.
That is how you win a league.
You know,
and again, credit to Arne Slot because he had, like I said, he's just had one player, which is crazy. And I think, does this, looking at it now, how does this go back on Klopp's legacy? Because obviously Klopp was at Liverpool for 8 years, was it?
I don't really think it affected that much because I think everyone acknowledges just how good Manchester City were in that period. To unspur them, they went neck to neck in a lot of league battles.
Yeah, well, they finished on 97 points one year and didn't win the league.
In another world, they might have got 3 or 4 titles in the club, but they just didn't. But I think his personality, his persona, everything he personified in that role.
And he built the club up from where it was. Like if
you look at his first starting 11 to what Arne Slot was able to put out in his first starting 11, the comparisons are crazy, So credit to him. I think that's really nice. Apparently, Jurgen Klopp is going to be at the winning parade.
Yeah, he deserves to be there.
Yeah, just, I doubt he'll be on the bus.
He might be.
But, I think it'll be good for him and his legacy before he takes over Real Madrid. Well done to Liverpool. Not happy about it, but what can we do? When my team's down in 14th. So.
Oh, no, well, Arsenal are 2nd, I guess. I'd say. It's a bit frustrating because there have been moments this season where Liverpool have dropped points.
Yeah.
And by no means have they been the most dominant team in the last 20 years in the league. They have been the best team in the league. But if you look at the results of the last 2 months, especially for Arsenal, I think we did slowly check out of the league. But it's draws, win, draw, loss, draw.
Yeah, you just can't be doing that. And it's a shame because I think someone challenging Liverpool right to the bitter end makes the Premier League an exciting product. And it feels like it's been quite stale for a while, the Premier League, because no one's been challenging Liverpool. It's kind of been set in stone that they're probably going to win for a long time. And it's hopefully next season we'll be a bit more of a competitive.
I think next year will be a lot more interesting. Hopefully Arsenal are going to be back to what they were. I think Man City will definitely be back. Man United will be up there challenging.
Yeah, naturally.
God, definitely not. I spit all over you there as well.
No, you did it right.
But yeah, all right. What a Liverpool, etc., etc., etc. Moving on. FA Cup results this weekend as well. So semi-finals. We now know the final is going to be Man City versus Crystal Palace. I think the entire country will be behind Crystal Palace. I think, but we both watched that game. We were texting each other. So Palace obviously won 3-0 in the end against. Fill in the gap for me.
Aston Villa.
Thank you. And I mean, I think we both agree the biggest takeaway is Mateta
is that guy.
Is that guy?
He is that guy. He had an incredible performance, didn't he? He was ace to watch.
Did miss a penalty.
Did miss a penalty, but that's how good he was.
Yeah.
Didn't even care if he missed the penalty.
He was just that dominant up front.
Yeah.
Just the way he's so quick, strong. I mean, this is all the stereotypes I'm about to drop. Just kind of a good striker. Quick, strong, can hold the ball well, can play the correct pass through. Just intelligent. You can tell he's on, top form right now because he's just that good.
Yeah.
But I thought Villa were pretty average, really.
You know what? It was very interesting because Aston Villa had lost 3 times to Crystal Palace already this season.
Interesting.
And I think Palace fans were I'm pretty sure it's that way. I'm going to look really stupid. It's the other way around. But Aston Villa fans were like, surely we will beat them at one point and this would be the game to do it. And no, in fact, the form is completely carried through. And Palace are just much better than them, I think.
So much better. There was the first kind of 15 minutes when Villa dominated the ball a bit more.
They were always going to.
Yeah.
Because they've just come off the back of a Champions League quarterfinal against PSG. They obviously had a fantastic year last year. The squad's a lot more experienced, got those, got those players who can maybe handle the pressure a bit more. Whereas it's probably a new situation for Palace to find themselves in, especially at Wembley, and they've never won a trophy in their 160-year history or something like that. So it's completely new to all the players. And I think it showed at the beginning, but as Palace grew into the game, I didn't even think it was that close. I thought
they were the much better team in the end. In terms of, especially clinical, 3 really nice goals as a celebration. It was cool, but I think we've said, haven't we? I would want him to go mental.
I hope if he scores in the final, he goes absolutely ballistic. You can't just stand there and be like, "Oh, I am that guy." Because although yes, in that moment he definitely was that guy. It was an amazing finish. Outside of the box, we love that, don't we? Curled into the top left.
He's been banging goals. He scored against Arsenal last week as well.
Scored 2 fantastic goals in a row now. But boy, celebrate! Just go nuts. You got how many Crystal Palace fans there? Probably more than Selhurst Park
probably
in its own right.
30,000 probably.
And he should have just ran over and gone their first goal as well. Just go over and go absolutely ballistic nuts. And share that moment with the fans because. You can stand there and have all your teammates go crazy, but it's a shame. I mean, also, on the other hand of it, did find it low-key cool.
It was cool. It was cool.
It would be
cool. Word on the street, actually, is that it's a response to the Red and White Chalkboard podcast for not putting him in the England squad.
Makes sense, doesn't it now?
It's an immediate call-out.
Yeah. But, no, I thought Crystal Palace, worthy winners. Villa just looked tired a bit lethargic. Looked like they ran out of ideas a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
And
did they miss Rashford?
Probably. You are going to miss someone who has the capacity to score or create a moment in a big game, which we all know he does. But do people think they miss Rashford more because he's not playing? He's one of these players I always think when he's not in the squad, it almost does him more favours because it's the idea of him.
True, but he has been very good though, hasn't he, recently? So
I think he's got 9 goals and assists in his entire loan spell since January, which is a modest return for a player which everyone considers to be.
Yeah, I know, but not just looking at the numbers though. He does create a lot.
Yeah,
he is a threat. And
do you think they missed him?
I think they probably did. I mean, that's kind of a nothing statement saying they missed him, isn't it? Especially when they lose 3-0, anyone could say that. But when it kind of came out that he was injured, he was going to miss the game. It looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season now as well, which could probably dampen their top 4 hopes as well. So that'll be really interesting to watch. But Watkins really didn't get into the game too often. And then it just, there wasn't a lot going forward anyway for them. And I think having someone like Rashford, a bit more of an outlet, could have maybe changed the game. But I mean, Palace were just a much better team anyway. I think if Rashford was on that pitch, Palace still win that if they play like that.
100%. I don't think he moves the needle that much if he's on the pitch. Do you remember me saying in an earlier iteration of our pod that I thought Ollie Watkins is going to be finished sooner rather than later?
I do remember you saying that.
Watch this. Well, to watch these 2 things. He's finished, and he's also going to move to Manchester United, which is, in my opinion, the perfect
match made in heaven.
Yeah, it's a perfect combination.
Is he finished, or is he just kind of not getting the game time and he's in and out the squad? And
yeah, he's obviously a player that's played a lot and is used to playing a lot, and
he runs a lot as well.
So maybe, but also didn't perform in a huge game.
How old is he? 29.
Yeah,
could he be 30?
Yeah, soon to be 30, if not already.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of running in his career. He's obviously put the miles in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe it's just a case he was in and out of squad and that's affected him, but who knows?
It feels like he could potentially be leaving in the summer. He'll be an interesting topic to watch.
Yeah.
If
you do a straight comparison to what Mateta offered Palace, who's a similar age to what Watkins offered for Villa, it was night and day. I thought Mateta was head and shoulders above.
Damaged head and shoulders above.
Yeah, wearing the head guard and everything, man. What a vibes, man.
I know.
So really good game of football.
Really
it felt
good
like
game.
a final.
It did feel like a final because both crowds were, but the crowd was going crazy. Both sides, players were both really up for it, and this podcast is now a Palace fan podcast.
Yeah, we love Palace.
We love this
we're
Palace
rooting for them. So on that note, Cormac, what was your thoughts on Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 0?
Well, it's boring.
Bit of a shame.
It is a shame. I really fancy Forest to try and get something. We kind of half watched the game. I've watched the highlights. City just completely controlled it.
He's scoring a goal in the first minute. They did it to
it.
us in the FA Cup final a couple of years ago.
Good one.
It just completely changes the tone. All excitement that anyone will have.
Sucked out immediately.
Yeah, like a balloon. It just popped immediately. Nottingham Forest weren't able to recover. They look tired now.
I think they do.
This has been an exhausting season for them, not just physically, but mentally, knowing that they're doing something incredible and the weight and expectation that brings a team which aren't necessarily used to it. If you think about where they've been in the Premier League in previous seasons. So having to adjust to the mental expectations is exhausting in itself. Semi-final as well. So they've had a lot to play for. They've had a lot of high stakes games. If you're, 14th and you've got nothing to play for, then you can kind of see the season out. Whereas at this point, they've actually got so much to play for, and so much riding on how they perform.
And the way they play as well. They just, especially their 4 players, do miles in the game, don't they?
So,
I'm just looking at their fixtures there. Of the last 4 games, they've only won 1.
Yeah. And it's an awful time to be hitting a bad streak of form.
Because they're right up, they're still up there. They lost to Everton and they lost to Villa, which obviously huge. They beat Spurs, which doesn't really count. They probably Spurs. But, I mean, we both said it as well. We still want them to get top 4, top 5. As things stand, they're currently 6th with the game in hand.
But they were about 8 points ahead.
They were so much further ahead.
You just can't be making mistakes at this point of the season. You need to be getting the points on the board. I think I said they need to probably just win every single home game. They probably have 2 games left at home or 3 games left at home. They need to try and win every single one of them. And they should be okay.
I can tell you, in fact. They've got, where are we looking here? Brentford at home on this Thursday. Then they're away at Palace, home to Leicester. That should be a walk in the park. Away to West Ham. That's a big game because if they win that...
Yeah, well then...
That should lock them in. And then final game is Chelsea.
And that's humongous. That's going to be the one that decides it. And I really hope it swings exciting. In Forest at home, final day of the season. It should be setting up for a nice finish to the season and top 4, top 5 race. That's
it. But touch on City quickly. They're going to be clear favourites going into the final, aren't they?
They've been here before. They've done it before. It's not going to be... They couldn't have wished for a better scenario. As much as we like Palace and what they've got going on, some of the other teams they would have had to have potentially faced in another world is a lot more of a difficult challenge. They've overcome more difficult challenges to win an FA Cup, to win a League Cup,
Champions League.
Exactly. So
they're going to have City are going to have a bad season, and they're going to finish 3rd and win an FA Cup. Which is, if Arsenal had that now, everyone would be saying, finally, Arsenal have done it. That's a success. Obviously, it's not winning the league or winning Champions League.
No.
But, you would...
And this is a squad in transition as well, which is really frustrating. And I will shout out a player of theirs who I really do like, Nico O'Reilly. The 6'4",
huge,
18-year-old who can play like left wing, centre defence.
It's just another one of these players that's coming through. This is going to be the standard, I think, now. Because it's NBA talk really quick as well. Multi-sport podcast now. Something that's happened in the NBA, especially over the last few years. Have you seen like Victor Wembanyama, who's the 7'4" French guy? The new kind of meta in NBA basketball coming through are all these 7-foot guys who can dribble, who are quick, who can shoot. You've got the guy called Chet Holmgren coming through as well, who plays for Oklahoma, 7'1", and can just move like someone who's like 5'10" could 10 years ago. And I think we are seeing that in football as well. And it is just, I think there's kind of always been a thing, especially recently. Less footballers, more athletes.
That's the way the game's gone.
Which is the way the game's gone. And we're going to get these guys now who are 6'4", 6'5". Haaland is probably another example of that.
100%.
They're so quick, so strong, and so athletic. That there's going to be 11 of them on a pitch.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think the idea going forward is you're going to, like I say with Manchester United's recruitment strategy, younger, taller, more athletic, and somewhat good on the ball.
Well, Arteta's been doing it, hasn't he? He loves his big boys as well.
That's it. And that's the way the game's going, and you're going to see it more and more. And I think if you can have a team of like 8 beasts and then 3 or 2 like world-class players, then it's a winning
So
formula.
I cut you off there, sorry, O'Reilly.
Fantastic. He's come in. I think he's started a lot more since January. Pep pulled him in amid like kind of an injury crisis or just and I think that he's really impressed. He scored some big goals. I think he's been playing very well in that team. It'll be interesting to see how he kind of develops and whether he keeps his starting place next season or whether City rethink who they're going to buy in the summer on the basis that, well, actually, we've got this kid who's performed very well. Chelsea were very interested in signing him in January.
Wow.
They didn't want to let him go. They didn't want to have a Cole Palmer repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously have
PTSD.
high hopes for him. So it'd be interesting to see. I've been impressed. So,
Yeah, no, he does look like the fact he's 18. Like I said, all these 18-year-olds come
but
through.
other than that, I don't want to talk about Manchester City that much because they're going to get relegated. And
They're not, but they should, but they won't. Right, okay, moving on then to the most exciting thing now. Football going forward, we're looking at this week.
Yes.
European football, semi-finals. We've got Tuesday, we've got Arsenal versus PSG. Wednesday, we've got Barcelona versus Inter. Thursday, then we've got Bilbao United and Spurs versus Bodo Glimt.
Mm-hmm.
4 big games for all the clubs involved, actually, for many different reasons. I think we'll start on Arsenal PSG.
Let's do it.
We have us going that. I am buzzing. So, kind of looking into this game here, I think it's not an outrageous statement to say, as far as an attacking team goes, PSG could be the best in Europe at the moment. I think in terms of the options that they have and the versatility that all their front players can have, like Kvaratskhelia, I can always say that name wrong, Dembele, and just the way that they can all play basically anywhere at all times. They could be. You don't really know what the starting front line is going to be, and then when you do, they play on the right for 30 minutes, and then they flip and they're going onto the left, and they're cutting in or they're going wide or whatever it may be. So that's very interesting. As well as that, PSG, obviously their fullbacks are going to be very important. So you got Nuno Mendes if you're English, and then you've got Hakimi on the right as well, who both obviously love to go forward and are very attacking. That being said, I still fancy Arsenal, and I think we have enough and are built so well systematically that we can counter this PSG team. And Villa did very well in the second leg and showed that they are there to be got. The fact that they have these players going so far up, I think just leaves opportunity for your Sakas, your Odegaards, your Martinelli, who's now coming to forward at a great time, to really hit them when they are going to be a little bit soft at the back. I am confident. I think we'll win tomorrow, but I think it's going to be the second leg will be very interesting. But I think tomorrow is a must win. I think we can't go to PSG with it, go to Paris with it, kind of up in the air. I think tomorrow win basically.
Interesting. You know what? Firstly, you sold me because I love your pronunciation of Nuno Mendes.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw. There was a guy on TikTok, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, a Portuguese guy. And he was raving about Nuno Mendes, and it was perfect. And I just kind of always stuck with me.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry,
Beautiful
go on.
pronunciation. Secondly, I actually agree with a lot of what you just said. You described that perfectly. The fullbacks, they probably have the 2 best in the world at what they do. That they bomb forward. They're defensively so sound. That midfield battle is going to.
That's I think going to be the most interesting, because the other thing is as well, Thomas Partey suspended, which was such a stupid yellow card in that last game. You saw the way Rice reacted, because Rice was like, "Fuck, I'm going to play the 6," which is what's going to happen. I think it will probably set up with, unfortunately, our best number 9 will probably be being in the midfield, which is Mikel Merino, by the way. Mm-hmm. And it looks like I imagine Trossard starting down the middle.
Interesting.
This is Monday night when we're recording this, so this is all kind of guesswork.
I think you're correct. I think that's how they're going to have to set up. But I'm going to counter your narrative in that I don't think tomorrow's a must-win.
Okay.
And I think you probably might lose tomorrow.
Interesting.
But then I think you'll bring it back in Paris.
What makes you say that?
I
think
that Arsenal are going to be worried about PSG. And like I say, I think missing Thomas Partey in a game like this, for how well he's played,
it's a big loss.
It's going to completely rejig that whole midfield, which has worked so well for you guys. And because Rice will have to naturally drop back, Odegaard's going to have to drop back a lot more to fill in gaps. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be able to find the space. I don't think he'll have the time to find the space, because that midfield will just, blaze him down immediately.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very touchy for the first leg. And I can imagine a world where PSG nick that first goal on some kind of counter and take the lead to Paris. I think it'll be slender. I'd go for I'm going to hedge my bets.
We'll do predictions at the end of all the games. We'll talk about them first. Yeah.
I think Arsenal are going to be worried about what PSG could do, and will naturally sit back despite being at home, because they're worried. PSG I consider up to be such a bigger threat to Arsenal than what Real Madrid have, because their midfield operates so well. You guys are press machines, but these are also press machines. Real Madrid
it's just 2 really well drilled teams, and it's 2 really good footballing teams. I think like I said, the midfield is going to be really interesting, and that battle is so important. They've got like Vitinha and Ruiz, especially, who are both unbelievable. Crazy to think Vitinha was at Wolves not so long ago.
Yeah,
what the hell? But Rice is going to have a really, really big job, and we know he can do it, but he's going to have to sweep of just that kind of line. When the ball goes to the left, he's going to have to be right there. When it goes to the right, he's going to have to be right there.
It's a massive game for your fullbacks as well.
Mm-hmm. I'd be intrigued. I wonder who he starts at fullback.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ben White maybe comes back in.
We thought this for the Real Madrid game.
Yeah.
I'm not
sure he will.
I don't think he will.
No.
Is Timber fit?
Timber is fit,
I think it'll probably be Timber and Lewis Skelly.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely.
And I think that's your best bet.
Mm-hmm. Lewis Skelly won't have the opportunities that he's had against Real Madrid, coming inside and stuff as much, I think.
No, because he'll just have to be...
Because there will be that space when need to be occupied.
If you're
who starts on the right most of the time for them? Is it Dembele?
Dembele or Desiree Doué, and then you'll have a keeper
Doué was even dropped for the last game against Villa. That just shows how good
their strength and depth. Remember, they have Goncalo Ramos on the bench as well.
Of course.
They have, obviously, Kvaratskhelia, and gosh, they have such a good team.
Mm-hmm.
That right wing, Lewis Skelly is going to have to be he's going to have to put in his most disciplined.
Martinelli's going to be running up and down that way like headless chicken. And that's what we need as well.
And thankfully, you have got Bukayo Saka, who we discussed last time is probably top 3 wingers in the world right now. Just has been for a few years.
Well, I mean, interesting. I saw people saying this is probably. I'm going to be biased, but Saka would struggle to get into that PSG team at the moment, which is fair.
No, it's fair, but like you say, they're all so fluid that they all move across the front line. That Dembele can play striker. He's played striker a lot for them this season. There was a moment where, at the beginning of the season, PSG very much started with Goncalo Ramos. There wasn't really a space for Dembele in the lineup.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Enrique spent a lot of time with him and his training staff on Dembele, teaching him essentially how to finish, because I think his composure in front of net. And all of a sudden, there's something's obviously clicked in his mind.
It's all happened, and
now he's able to finish on instinct, and that makes him a whole different, 100%.
That's one of the best players
whole
in the
different
world.
Prospect. And I think you could play him for the middle, and then Saka would come in on the right. But even still, it's also fluid. It
is, yeah.
But I think it'll be a really interesting game.
That midfield is going to be very interesting.
It's a systems game, It's because against Real Madrid, they are a vibes team more than tactically astute team.
Mm-hmm.
PSG is so drilled, as are Arsenal, so it's just going to be. I think it'll be super cagey.
It's going to come down to moments.
Yeah, 100%.
From those world-class players.
Yeah.
Who can Saka get a shot away? Can Dembele get the shot away?
Yeah. Can someone grab a penalty?
Mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. So
it'll be really tested. I mean, the Emirates is going to be absolutely roaring tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. The atmosphere is going to be... I heard you guys got a TIFO organised.
Yeah, well, so I don't know if we have now.
Oh.
Because I saw like the Arsenal, whatever they're called, like the ultras, but they're not the super fans, whatever they are. They raised money to try and get a TIFO set up, but the club rejected it.
Oh, that sucks.
Which is a bit of a shame. I don't know what's happened since I last heard. That was 2 days ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's been some workaround.
Hopefully
there is something, because that really just adds to the effect.
Yeah,
and...
we all like to see it. I like it because this is the season of British clubs or bringing back TIFOs for European nights. European nights for the British teams this year felt a bit more meaningful.
I know what you mean.
Kind
of
sense.
like old school European, like kind of 2000s level European games.
We've had a few teams who aren't typically in Europe before, like Villa, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some teams who are just craving success, like Arsenal, like Manchester United are in Europe. So
stakes are just higher, aren't they?
Stakes are higher, and you're feeling that in every game. So it's going to be really exciting. Go on then, Cormac. I'm going to ask you for your prediction.
I think tomorrow night, I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal.
Oof. All right. Who's going to score? I'm going to go that far.
I think Marino scores from midfield, and I think Trossard grabs one as well.
You know what? That is such a good shout. I think Marino and Trossard, that just makes so much sense in my mind.
Saka's going to be unbelievable. He's going to play it across to Trossard. Trossard's just going to swing his leg around it, and Marino's going to come in after the ball gets deflected out of the box, and he's just going to slot it.
Perfect. I like that. I'm going to counter your optimism with a 2-1 PSG.
Okay.
I'm going to go Kvaratskhelia a double. And I'm then going to say Rice towards the end of the time. It's going to go 2-0 PSG, and then Rice is going to give hope.
Yeah, all right.
And that's going to drive.
I mean, that makes things very spicy, doesn't it? Going into that, yeah, that's very exciting. All right, nice. We'll come back to Barcelona Inter shortly. I think we'll go on to the other big game, which we have another away day coming up for Taylor here. Bilbao, Man United. Mm-hmm. Taylor, what are your thoughts? Or should we want to start with your travel plans?
Yeah, let's start with the travel plans, because I know you guys love to hear it. So this is the first of 2 trips that I'll be taking to Bilbao. This for the semis and naturally for the finals.
Flights are booked for the final.
Flights are booked for the final. We are currently being scavenged by anyone who has even somewhat classified as a home in Bilbao, because they are currently charging on average £1,500 a night for a hotel room. The cheapest
for the semi or for the final?
For the final,
right?
Thankfully, the semi seems to have been all right, but the final is £1,400, £1,500 a room. For a bed in a hostel, it's about £800. So it's all a bit nightmarish for the final. But there's a will, there's a way. But we'll get to that when we get to it. But so Thursday, I am waking up very early at the crack of dawn, approximately 5:30. I have a bus from Victoria bus station in London to Bristol, and then I have to catch another bus to Bristol Airport, to which then, thankfully, this is a direct flight, but it takes me longer to get to Bristol than it does to fly to Bilbao from Bristol, which is brilliant. I love that. So then I arrive in Bilbao at approximately 4 p.m, where I'll be meeting my pal, good friend of the pod, Urbatron, and we will be rendezvousing to our hostel, and then dropping off our stuff, and then getting ready, getting all pumped up for the game, which you know what, as the days creeping towards it, I'm getting more excited for the occasion.
Good. Yeah, you should be.
I'm not so much excited for the game, because I'm incredibly tense for the game, but I'm really excited to go watch a game of football at the San Mamés in Bilbao.
Have you been before?
No.
Okay,
been.
Nice.
So, San Sebastian was incredible, but Bilbao are Although I've got to stop saying Bilbao, because they don't like to be known. They're not known as Bilbao. The locals don't call them Bilbao. It's Athletic.
Right.
So I will refer to them now as Athletic, and I'm sorry if I do call them Bilbao.
Just easy for us thick English, isn't it?
Yeah.
So call them Bilbao.
The team and the fans create a wonderful atmosphere. It's a big stadium. It's 50,000. We've got 2,500 tickets for the United away end. I'm hoping that it's going to be a much smoother process. The Spanish police and authorities are much nicer than the French were to me 10 days ago. So
that was only 10 days ago.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the occasion. This is the beauty of it. You get to go to some really beautiful parts of the world and go to some really wonderful stadiums and meet. The fans are so nice as well when you go to these parts there. They're
Spanish
very
teams are all
they're very excited, Athletic.
They just love football.
Firstly, they have huge expectations because the final's obviously in Bilbao. So they're hoping that they can get it, and they'll fancy their chances against Spurs or Bodo going to the final. And also to play such a historic club like Manchester United, their fans are very excited, the club's very excited, but also because of where Manchester United currently are in their cycle of nonsense, they know there's a very good chance that they could do something to us. But on that note, they are missing their most important player this season, Sanse, who has scored 15 league goals for them this season. He pulled up in the 18th minute in their game last week, and he's a doubt for the first leg. Whether he returns to the second or not is yet to be known. So they're going to be missing a key player. I thought Nico Williams might also be missing, but he seems to be back.
Fit, yeah.
Athletic, a fantastic club. They are steeped in local history. Their whole idea is that they have only players from the Basque region. They've never signed a player who's not from the Basque region originally.
Which is, so impressive.
It's amazing. It's one of those small fairy tale stories you don't really see in the modern game anymore.
Well, we've got like 4 Basque managers in the Premier League, haven't we?
That's
or something
it.
like that.
It's an area steeped in football heritage, and the club has remained true to its roots and has reaped the rewards. They've been regularly in Europe. They perform well in the league for many years. They've got a solid foundation of a club. They perform so well. They make fantastic money. They're one of these clubs where they'll put their release clauses in if their players want to go, but you have to pay it in full. There's no installments. The player has to turn up to. I love this about Spanish football. The player has to turn up to the bank and submit his own release clause.
I didn't know
to get the release clause triggered. The club can't pay it.
Yeah.
The player, the individual, has to go to the local bank and drop the release clause, pay for it themselves. Obviously, then the club will pay the player. But that's how they can get out of their contracts. But it's just a weird quirk of football. We had to do it with Ander Herrera. It's yeah. So it's going to be a really interesting game. They're a fantastic club and exactly the type of club which would cause this Manchester United a lot of trouble. We are the only team unbeaten in Europe out of all the clubs, 100 teams that started originally in Europe at the start of the season. Manchester United, and you're hearing this right, ladies and gentlemen, the only unbeaten team in the entirety of Europe, of the boys.
Crazy.
On that logic, we should smash them. But I'm also not that stupid in that I think it's going to be a really tense game. We need Rasmus Højlund to. It was nice to see him score.
That's huge for him. I was saying, goal over the weekend.
He needed that. And
he'll tap in, but
goal. That's the perfect type of goal he needed to score. We need him to score.
Is he actually going to be 30?
No, he's out for the season now. So it's Højlund or bust. We need Fernandes to just keep this rich vein of form. We need Uncle Casemiro to have a La Liga remontada. We need Leniaro to be continuing how great he's been recently. We need Onana just to believe that he's a goalkeeper.
I was going to say, most importantly, maybe you need Onana to just lock the fuck in and do his job.
Enemy of the state, Diego Dallo, is out for the rest of the season with a hamstring.
Blessing in disguise?
Well, maybe, but also in Europe, funny enough, he's actually been all right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Maz. I know it's going to be Mazraoui moving out to the right wing back role. We're going to have Harry Maguire's obviously going to start. We're going to have Leniaro starting. It'll be interesting. I think we're going to see Luke Shaw on the third left centre back, and then we're going to have.
He's looked shaky since he's come back, Shaw.
Yeah, and he's played a lot. He played the whole 90 minutes of the weekend. Brutal. He played 75 minutes against Lyon, 45 minutes more than they expected him to. So it's going to be interesting to see how long he lasts. We're going to have Dorgu on the left wing back. He's going to need a good game. I think he's still waiting to have that game since he's come in. He's still very young.
He's only 19, isn't he?
Yeah, but this is the type of game where you're coming up against a team that aren't necessarily the most physical, albeit probably a bit more physical than your average team in La Liga. But you're going to need to overpower them with your physicality. This is where...
And he's a big guy and he's strong, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's fast, he's strong, he's built. This is a good game for Harry Maguire.
Check him up top, man.
100%. We're going to need Garnacho just to try and...
Bless him. Lock in.
Yeah. We're going to basically need a performance across the pitch. And the most important thing from this game is if we don't smash them 4-0, it's just to not lose and take something back to Old Trafford, because then I think the boys could do it. So,
I agree.
Anything you want to mention on this game?
I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head with all of that. I think for me, it is super, super important that Højlund is able to pull something out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really hoped for him because he's had such a shit time. I really hope he gets something. I think, like you said on the weekend, him getting that cheeky little tap in, that kind of instinctive. I mean, he didn't know, the ball kind of came to him. But psychologically, I'm hoping that kind of moment could happen for him again.
Yeah.
And then Onana as well. That's just the one that worries me.
I mean, he's helped himself this time because he hasn't come out that I know of yet and said that we're going to batter them. So he's
learned from his mistakes.
He's one step ahead of where he was about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on, Cormac. Hit me with your prediction.
Right, predictions. I think in Bilbao, I'm going to say 1-1. I'm feeling slightly optimistic. I don't really know what. I think that last game was such a big moment for you guys. And kind of the Maguire late winner, I think, is psychologically huge. And I really think a lot of that will help. But I am slightly concerned. Nico Williams especially, I think, is a baller. I reckon he scores for Bilbao, or Atleti, sorry. And I think you get a Garnacho screamer.
Wow, that's insane.
In that order.
So to slightly burst that bubble again, in that you say mentally it could be a massive hurdle that we overcome, I actually completely disagree with that rhetoric, because how many times have we seen, for example, Manchester United beat Arsenal in the FA Cup, Liverpool, Manchester City?
Different, I think. I think it's different. I think European night, 5-6. What was it? I forgot. 5-4 on the night, and just being 4-2 down. I think that's so different to every other comeback or every big win you've had.
Yeah.
Now psychologically, you have now. We can do this.
Yeah.
We've got the moments. We've got the players. I think that is so different to kind of the other wins.
Mm-hmm.
Does that win you games alone? No, it doesn't, because you've got at least 180 minutes of football.
Yeah.
But I think even if you do go 2 down, coming back to Old Trafford, the players will be thinking, listen, we've done it before.
Well, this is it. So based on that, I'm going to go for 3-1 Manchester United. I'm going to go for a Bruno Fernandes penalty, a Rasmus Højlund goal, and a Mason Mount.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He makes a little appearance.
He's do something. I don't know what that something is.
Friend of the pod, Mason Mount.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't come in the Premier League because it's pointless. But every time he's come on, he's a bit full of energy. He's still trying to find his place.
I still think there's a player there. I really like Mason Mount. I really.
There's something. So there's no better way to endear himself to this Manchester United fan base, which are really questioning his credentials,
and getting a big goal,
than getting a massive goal in European semi-final for Manchester United. So I'm hoping that this is going to be one. I'm going to go for 3-1.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think you said the same about Leon.
I did.
You got the amount of goals correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, nice. Right, we'll touch on the other 2 European games then quickly.
Yeah.
Barcelona Inter. So Inter is maybe your favourite team of all time, outside of Crystal Palace, obviously. What are your thoughts going into that? How do you fancy that?
Oh, when we first did these predictions, we obviously got Barca to the final.
We did, yeah.
And the more I've thought about it, I just think this Inter team are just so good. Although we say that they lost to Claudio Ranieri's Roma. On the weekend, which is huge for them in the Serie A title race with Napoli, obviously winning.
Speaking of,
and Scott McTominay,
two big goals.
I can't remember what his name is in Italian. It's like they give him the nickname, and I'm really paraphrasing. Is like McFart or something like that, which essentially is Napolitano for bro. So he's a McBro, which I'm a big fan.
You say McFart as well.
You know what? I'm gonna
classic Italian.
I'm gonna Google and fact check and round back on that one. But he's been given the McBro nickname in Naples. They've endeared themselves. So it's huge in that title race. That's going down to the wire.
I think he scored 3 goals in the last 5 games.
Yeah. And as I was mentioning to you just before we do go on to the Champions League game,
we've got a bit of a...
But in Serie A, interestingly, if it goes down to the final day and Napoli and Inter are level on points, the way that Serie A is decided is not by goal difference, is by a one-off playoff final for the league. And the goal difference matters in that whoever has the most goal difference gets the playoff at their stadium. So, say if Inter had more goal difference than Napoli, it would be played at San Siro, and that's how they decide the league, which I personally am a huge fan of. I don't know why we don't do it in the league.
It makes things so much more exciting. Yeah. So, as things stand, so we're looking at Serie A. We have gone on a big tangent here.
Yeah.
Napoli on 74 points, Inter on 71. So, it have just...
Out of curiosity, do they have to play each other?
That's a great question, Taylor.
Because if they do... It could all be a bit...
They do not. No.
Oh, they do not.
That's a nice dream that you had there.
Yeah, imagine how it worked out perfectly. But it actually looks like Napoli have some favourable fixtures, but also it's been so up and down. And
who knows?
Who knows? We don't.
No, we definitely don't. Anyway, sorry.
To go back to
Champions
Inter,
League,
love this team. I love the fact that one of the best teams in Europe has Marco Arnautovic starting up top for them. That is insane. But it works.
Stoke legend.
Yeah. It's going to be essentially, can this wonderful Barcelona attack break through an absolute resolute Inter defense who've got a fantastic goalkeeper and back four? And I don't know. The first game's at Barcelona.
Nou Camp.
So this is a great opportunity for Barca to try and get some goals on the board.
Yep.
But if this game finishes anything like 0-0, 1-1, Inter aren't going to turn over lightly at the San Siro.
San Siro is going to be a brutal place to go.
I can't see it.
I think if anyone can do it, this Barcelona front line is capable.
Important to say that Barcelona just won the Copa del Rey.
Beat Real Madrid over the weekend.
Yeah,
beat them God.
3-2. And also a player that I hate, Ferran Torres, scored the winning goal.
Why do you hate Torres?
I just don't like him. I just think he's rubbish. Just one of these players in my mind.
But he was a 50 million signing, wasn't he, when he went to City?
60 million. Oh, no, 50 million.
To City. And then
Barcelona bought him for 60. He's one of these players who's amassed 110 million pounds worth of transfer fee. And I'm just like, bro,
how the fuck has he managed that?
Yeah, although he's not far off what Anthony costs, so fair enough. Anyways, so they won against Real Madrid. That'll be a huge confidence booster. Do you want to touch on that referee nonsense? Is that something that's...
I'm not sure I've seen that.
Oh, so basically...
I know what you're on about. Go on, yeah.
Real Madrid, who are having an all-time stinking season in terms of just their PR.
3 red cards they got yesterday, by the way. They're going to Copa del Rey final.
Yeah. Real Madrid basically were complaining because the referee of this game had come out in a press conference, which in itself is a bit weird, I'll say.
It is strange.
Basically saying he's really struggled this season because of the abuse that he's got specifically from Real Madrid's in-house media channel, Real Madrid TV, where they were constantly pulling up decisions that they had suggested that he'd picked in the other team's favour rather than Real Madrid. And they basically just honed in on this ref all season, basically saying he's biased, he doesn't like Madrid. And he did a press conference basically saying it's been really tough for my family. My daughter's going to school, she's getting bullied. And I liked it because it shed light on, you can't just let these teams, especially Real Madrid, get away with whatever they want.
I agree.
But that also set the game up to be put in a whole different spotlight. And Real Madrid is asking the ref to be changed. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. Real Madrid talking about boycotting a game, again, was never going to happen. And the game played out, and the ref actually had a very good game. I thought it was lots of goals, and he managed the game very well. And obviously, Real Madrid got lots of players sent off at the end because they were just throwing their toys out the pram.
Quite literally, in Rudiger's case, right? He threw an ice cube at the referee.
Yeah, he did,
is that right?
which is disgraceful behaviour. And it makes me think everything that they've been doing, it just makes everything a whole lot less credible. And
it's a bad precedent to set as well. Kind of this amount of abuse and scrutiny on a referee.
Yeah.
Like, we all call ref shit, and also they have a bad
But we're just me and you. We're just two blokes. We're
having
not
a channel
on
dedicated to just
It's
berating
the
this one poor
official
bloke
club's like
for doing his
media
job.
house. Yeah, it's insane.
Real just a bunch of crybabies,
Yeah.
and I'm glad we beat them in the Champions League, and I'm glad you guys lost in the Copa del Rey final.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, we've got another. That's another sidetrack.
I'm sorry, guys. There's been a lot to talk about.
It's so much football. Going back again, Europe. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be. I'm going to go straight for the score predictions now. I'm going to go for 2-1 Inter, and I'm going to go for a Lautaro Martinez goal, and I'm also going to go for a Bastoni header.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to go 1-1.
Ooh, I like that.
Lamine Yamal, and then immediate response. Charlie Martinez.
Okay.
From Inter.
I just realised I said 2-1, but didn't give my Barca score.
You just went
Lewandowski to get a goal.
Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Very nice. And then finally, the other European game, the arguably the fixture of the week, Spurs versus Bodo Glimt, which I'm quite excited for in a way because it has the potential to be really funny and watch Spurs lose. I think, are they at home on Thursday? I'm just double checking now. They are at home. Yeah, I think it's actually really important that they get something from this home game.
100%.
Because it was a really tricky. They're going to this 3G. They play on a 3G pitch in the Arctic Circle. You know,
you don't want to be going up there 1-1,
1-1, exactly
0-0, all to play for. It's Spurs are having a dreadful season, and we're having a bad season. But Spurs seem to be getting worse by the week. It's a miracle that they beat Frankfurt, in my humble opinion.
I think so as well. I mean, it's not crazy to see them get to the final here.
No,
it's Bodo Glimt is kind of the
my overarching
story.
mind is that they will get to the final, which is really annoying. But I think Son's out, which I don't think they're actually missing him that much at all at the minute.
They're not.
Got turned over by Liverpool, but I guess most teams would have in that scenario.
Yeah, probably.
And he's definitely on his way out.
He looks like he's just given up in a way.
Yeah.
Not given up, that's a bit dramatic.
No,
but he knows, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, he knows. I don't really know what else there's to say.
There's not too much to go into, really, other than it's a must-win. This is a must-win.
Yeah. I do think they've got a somewhat decent centre-back pairing.
Yep.
Which should be enough to take them through against Bodo Glimt. But what's your predictions for this first home?
I think Spurs will get a win here. I reckon 1-0. I think nothing crazy. I think it's going to be a shite game, which I won't be. I'll be watching the United game. But I think it'll be 1-0. And they'll take it back to Norway. Yep, Norway. Yeah. And Glimt will win the second leg.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Bodo Glimt.
Nice. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah. I like that a lot. All right. Exciting. Before we finish off today, I think we need to address. We haven't spoken about Jamie Vardy.
Oh yeah.
Announced his retirement this week. Oh, not retirement. Sorry, he's leaving Leicester. sorry, Jamie. He's got Wrexham written all over him.
Well, you say that, but news then came out today that he actually thinks at the grand age of 38 years old, he still thinks he can provide a job for a Premier League team.
Okay.
And he doesn't want to drop back down to the Championship. He wants to stay in the Premier League.
Manchester
United. Come on, Jamie, you know you want to. He'd be class. Imagine that.
God, yeah, that's what he needs.
So he wants to stay in the Premier League because his logic is, well, if he wanted to play in the Championship, he would have just stayed with Leicester.
Yeah, that's fair.
But also, when no Premier League comes calling for a 38-year-old Jamie Vardy, which he picked the wrong time. He should have left Leicester 10 years ago.
On Arsenal, but 40 million
but he's 38 now, so I just don't think no one's going to take on the wages.
He hasn't got the legs.
No one, yeah. So I think there's definitely a place for him in the Championship, and if it's not at Leicester, it's going to be for my second team, Wrexham, who I can't wait for the eventual Wrexham-Manchester United League game when they both face each other in the Championship in seasons to come. It's going to be very exciting.
But yeah, Wrexham back to back promotions. Is that
first
right?
Time.
Back to back. There you
Yeah.
go, yeah.
They've had an extraordinary rise, and it shows what good investment of money, thoughtful owners.
Yeah, how much of it, because I don't know, I haven't watched any of the Wrexham TV show, and I don't know too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it is money has got them promoted, and how much of it is actually correct buying, coaching, running?
Well, I think...
Is it a bit of both?
It's a bit of both. I think every time they got promoted, they brought one or two players who have great experience in that league, which is enough to kind of pull them up the table quite quickly. There are so many badly run clubs in the pyramid, and everyone hates Wrexham because they've got all this money. They got Hollywood, they got the Disney series.
It's easy to unlike, isn't it?
It's easy to unlike, but also you have to respect it because there's so many poorly handled clubs, and they've all been relegated or they're just middling, and there's no ambition.
Well, look at Stoke.
Yeah, it can
as a
happen.
prime example.
Whereas they've come in, they've opened the American market up to this team, which before they came and invested was actually on the brink. They had been suffering for years financially. This is the first time they're in the championship since the 1980s.
Wow.
So they haven't been there for ages, and they're one of the founding clubs of the football pyramid in the United Kingdom. They got the racecourse ground, which is looking to expand. It's a fantastic stadium. It's very old, and they got a lot of heritage, and they've done such a good job with it. It's a mix of really good marketing, really good. If you can make just a few really good decisions in that spectrum of space, you can really go quite far, and that's what they've done. I think they'll probably sit in the championship now for a good few years. I think it's just really difficult.
A bit very important. But just important message like your family from Wrexham, obviously.
That's why I'm getting awfully passionate all of a sudden. Not just because I have this weird, for Disney documentaries about sporting teams. My dad is actually from Wrexham, and I remember growing up and visiting, and the team literally was up to nothing. And we drive past the stadium, there's nothing going on ever. Whereas now you can go for a game of football, go for a pint, and you might bump into Ryan Reynolds, which is pretty crazy if you've ever been to Wrexham. So I like it. It's good to see. Yeah.
Another quick mention while we're doing kind of second teams. Portsmouth secured championship football, which is huge considering going into things. And then also another team which I have affiliation for, Oxford United. My dad, if you're listening, you'll be glad to hear that they've been mentioned. They are very close to staying up now. It's really tight actually at the bottom of the championship. I don't know if you've seen that at all. Probably not, because why would you bother checking? No. But between 17th and 22nd, there is only 4 points.
Wow.
So it's looking very tight. Stoke, Oxford, Derby, Preston, Luton. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, that's very exciting. It looks like Oxford probably will be safe. They're on 52 points now. But Portsmouth staying up means Southampton, Portsmouth in the championship next year, which is one of the best derbies in the UK. So very exciting. Right. Anything else for us to cover?
All I want to say, guys, is if you're listening, we've touched on it all. We've touched on Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League, Europa League, Serie A, La Liga,
this has
Championship, League One. We've got it all. We're covering all bases of knowledge.
We just love football.
We do just love football.
And like you said, if you have been listening, you have enjoyed, please like, please subscribe, please share, please check out the TikTok, check out the YouTube shorts that we have with stupid little clips and games that we do as well. It's all good fun. Thank you very much for listening. It's been another great week. Look forward to see you on the weekend again when Arsenal have won and Man United have drawn. Catch you next time, guys.
Adios.